The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced yesterday it is awarding $300 million in projects to help improve access to land, capital, and markets for underserved producers.
This comes as black landowning farmers continue to face long-enduring challenges acquiring and keeping land, which is a key contributor to the nation's racial wealth gap. The new CBS Reports documentary examines the impact of this gap on black Americans, explores the ways in which they are trying to reclaim their land, connect to their ancestry, and generate wealth that can be passed on to future generations.
Skyler Henry joins us now. He is a correspondent for the new CBS Reports documentary, 40 Acres and a Mule. Skyler, thanks so much for being with us. So the title of this documentary is 40 Acres and a Mule. Tell us what that reference is. What is that in reference to?
Well, hey, friends. Good to see you. Well, really, it speaks to a broken promise, Elaine and Lana, that speaks to the Reconstruction era shortly after those who were enslaved were freed and essentially given the opportunity to have access to land and 40-acre parcels, especially if you zoom into a state like Georgia, 400,000 acres along the coastline. The government allowed those who were formerly enslaved to have access to, and in some instances, the Army even allowed them to get mules, or provided them with mules as well. And the thinking there was that this would be an opportunity for black people to create communities that are self-sustaining, right? Where you have this land, they're able to farm it and till it and grow whatever they want. And you know, in one expert's opinion, have that physical separation from the rest of society so that black people can do their own thing. Well, about a year after that, President Andrew Johnson reversed that special field order, essentially allowing those who owned that property before, those white landowners, to get that land back, of course, forcing thousands of black people off of that property. And the thing to remember there is that those who were able to keep that land, they faced generations of pressure, terroristic threats, pressure from the government, private companies in order to try to keep that land as well. And so it really is an interesting deep dive into what exactly happened all those generations ago, and just the struggle that black people have had over the course of the last 150 or so years in terms of trying to keep their property.
Well, I want to follow up with you on this, because in addition to forcing them off of their property, these broken promises in many cases still kept them on the property as tenant farmers. Talk to us more about the quantification that you've been able to assess about the impact generationally in terms of wealth that these broken promises had.
Yeah, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars in terms of losses that were out there. There's a study out there that looks at the the peak year, if you will, where black farmland ownership was at its peak. That was around 16 million acres, and shortly thereafter, we're talking about decades of losses, about 70% losses in terms of black farmland ownership, and the total number, at least according to this one study, $326 billion. And the thing to remember here is that this isn't just farmland to create crops. A lot of times on this black farmland, you had black schools, black churches. A lot of the civil rights activists that we spoke to for this piece even said that the produce that was yielded from this farmland was then sold, and the money from that sale was actually used to free those who may have been arrested during civil rights protests out of jail. And that was something that I didn't even realize, and I grew up in Georgia. And so when you take into consideration just the economic advantages that having this land really gave for black people, especially when having those 40 acres, it really does take your breath away. One person that I talked to about this, they had a deep conversation about everything from reparations to wanting this land back, and they said that, you know, they don't necessarily want handouts. They just wanted a fair opportunity to try to create some economic advantages and wealth for not only their family, but their community as well.
And Skyler, I want to zoom into one of the families featured in the documentary, a family that's fighting the potential use of eminent domain. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, you guys, these were the sweetest. Mark and Janet Smith, retired a teaching couple who's traveled the world teaching. They even spent some time out in Japan doing so, but they moved back to the family property almost 100 years. That's been in the family for about 100 years. 97 years it's been in this family, and Mark's grandfather was actually a sharecropper who was able to trade some of the cotton harvest over to who owned the land and was able to get about 600 acres. And this property has been in this family for that long of a time there. Well, they are now being faced with a bit of pressure from a private rail company that's looking to try to essentially carve up some of their property to connect to quarries. And the thing to remember here is that eminent domain is a legal practice, and a tactic that's used to try to compensate people off of their land, promising them X amount of dollars. But ultimately what happens there is that, they claim that it's for the public good, even if that private landowner doesn't necessarily want to give up that land. The thing to think about in this case, though, is that it's not just black farm landowners that are being impacted here. Other landowners in that neighborhood as well that don't necessarily have farmland. And we should also point out white landowners as well in this particular area that are being threatened by this rail company. So they've taken legal action. It really is a David versus Goliath situation here in terms of the legal fight that we are seeing, but the community there is certainly confident that they will win and keep this private rail company off their property.
All right, Skyler Henry, we are so interested in viewing this documentary. Thank you for joining us. And as a reminder to all of our viewers, you can watch this new CBS Reports documentary, 40 Acres and a Mule, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern or anytime on the free CBS News app and Paramount Plus.